So here's my biography really quickly. I was born in Westchester County, or actually in Indiana. I grew up in Westchester County outside of New York. Happy kid, perfectly normal family. Went through high school, many different high schools, and one of the last things that I remember being told by my psychology teacher in high school was, whatever you do, Kirsten, don't go into psychology. So I enrolled in SUNY Stony Brook out in Long Island as a psychology major. And I spent the next 8 years going to school for psychology, not an undergraduate. I did move on to graduate school after 3.5 years because I was determined to get through my program. Got through the program, and then it took me another 3 years past that 8 years to finally finish my dissertation, which for you guys who know about dissertations, ABD, all but dissertation, so it was me dragging around this ball for a while until I finally got that done. And then I worked in community mental health, and then I worked with the geriatric population, and then I went to work in hospitals, and then I went to work in a school system, and then I went back to community mental health, and somewhere along the way I opened a private practice that I kind of worked in, but not really, and I kind of did therapy, and I did testing, and then I decided I hated doing therapy because clients were boring me to the point that I was going to fall asleep. So I opened a nonprofit, which is now running out of Learning Works, called Back on Track, working with juveniles. Very proud of that because I lasted in that for 5 years, which was phenomenal, but I got to be an executive director and a marketing expert and a human resources person and a program developer and all of these things. And then I had family along the way too. I have 2 boys, one who's almost 15, the other one who's 12. And when my now 12-year-old was 7 years old, we were at the pediatrician's, and he had to have a physical exam, and he had one sock off and one sock on, and the pediatrician said, can you take your other sock off? I need to examine you. And he found the reflex hammer. Just playing with it. So much fun. And 2 minutes later, the pediatrician said again, do you think you could take your other sock off so I could examine you? Sure. And he kept playing with the reflex hammer, and pediatrician, who was a friend of mine since college, said to me, do you ever think that maybe your son has a problem with attention? I said, well, it's just the way he is. It's the way I was when I was growing up. It's the way he is. He's just being playful. And the next week we had a parent-teacher conference, and he was in 2nd grade, and his teacher said, his records for the last 2 years, the teachers have commented on the fact that he has more difficulty than the other kids paying attention. They had never told me that. Shocker. So I started thinking about this again. I had been working with people who had learning differences for years at that point. I had actually become known in Maine as the person to go to. If you have ADHD, get her to evaluate your kid or your adult. So that's what I did. My kid, how did I miss it? 2 days later, I was sitting at home. ADHD is highly heritable. My ex-husband does not have ADHD by any stretch of the imagination, and so I was sitting there in my living room going, oh my God. I called my ex-husband and I said this to him, and he said, well, I could have told you it was you. I knew from the first date that there was something about you. I just didn't know what it was called. So I went to my friend, the nurse practitioner, and said, okay, here's my life story. And she said, oh yeah, you've got it too. Great, goody gumdrops. So I started my work in the field of ADHD formally at that time, not by default anymore. I had my doctoral degree. I chose to get trained also as an ADHD coach because therapy just doesn't work. When you have ADHD, I don't care what happened to you as a kid. It's not going to make you manage your ADHD any better now. I was at Peloton Labs working on my business, and we had a marketing person next door to us, and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to work with people to help them have more fun when they have ADHD, because when we're having more fun, our symptoms are managed. And he said, oh, PlayDHD. Of course, Jeff Ryan said that to me, and so I had a company. My focus has been on helping people to be more playful in their lives if they have ADHD. Because the challenges of ADHD are problems with motivation, interest, and attention. And if you think about the last time you played, I'm going to bet you that you were very interested, you were paying full attention, and you were really motivated because you wanted to keep on going. So my clients learn to be more playful, and they learn to manage their attention in a natural way. And that's how I do things differently. That's how I'm known in my community of peers. Yay.